You have probably seen the news about sycophantic behavior with the recent update from ChatGPT and their recent rollback. OpenAI just published this blog post on what exactly happened, and I think it has a lot of technical knowledge. Now, here's a tweet from Sam Altman. The last couple of GPT-4o updates have made the personality too sycophantic and annoying, even though there are some very good parts to it. And we're working on fixing as soon as possible, some today and some this week. At some point, we will share our learnings from this. It's been interesting. And they just released this blog post, which has a lot of technical details that OpenAI never has shared before. Not only about this incident, but also how these models are trained. Details about what type of internal evals they have and why they fail. How optimizing for individual rewards can have combined unintended consequences. I think there is a lot to learn from this blog post, especially if you're building AI systems. I think one of the main findings is evals are the most important part of any AI systems. And secondly, that they need to be dynamic. You cannot use static evals. The goal of this video is to go through parts of this blog post and what type of learnings we can have. So they start off by saying that the recent update to GPT-4 specifically added sycophantic behavior. It aimed to please the user, not just flattery, but also as validating doubts, fueling anger, urging impulsive actions, and reinforcing negative emotions in ways that were not intended. And this is dangerous because it can really cause serious safety concerns, including issues like mental health, emotion over-reliance, and risky behavior. The question is, how did this happen? These LLM systems are trained in two stages. One is pre-training, where they acquire world knowledge, they understand language. And the second is post-training, where they learn how to interact with users. Now, this is oversimplifications, but usually these are the main two stages of training. In this blog post, they explain that every small model update to GPT-4o is actually a new post-training paradigm. So it's not just a system prompt update or system message update, but they basically do a complete post-training. So they say each update involves new post-training and often minor adjustments to the model training process. They are independently tested and then combined into a single updated model, which is then evaluated for launch. So they use a lot of probably synthetic data that is distilled from a much larger model into these smaller models. The base model seems to remain the same, so it's probably the same GPT-4o base model, but then they're doing this post-training. And they say to post-train models, we take pre-trained base model, do supervised fine-tuning on a broad set of ideal responses written by humans or existing models. That's where the knowledge distillation and synthetic data generation comes into play. And then run reinforcement learning with reward signals from a variety of sources. It seems like this new sycophantic behavior was caused by the reward signal that the models are getting from reinforcement learning step. We're going to look at it, how exactly that happened later in the video. So they say, during reinforcement learning, we present the language model with a prompt and ask it to write responses. We then rate its responses according to reward signals and update the language model to make it more likely to produce higher rated responses and less likely to produce lower rated responses. So there is a reinforcement step happening. Potentially the model behavior is basically controlled by the reward signal that it's getting. So what exactly this reward signals looks like? So they say the set of reward signals and their relative shapes the behavior we get at the end of the training. Now, it's not a single signal, but it's actually a combination of different parameters or different effects that you get. So they say different parts of that reward signals are whether the answers are correct, are they helpful, are they in line with their own model specs, Are they safe? Do the user like them? And so on and so forth, right? So it's a very complex reward signal where the model has to optimize based on a number of different criteria, and some of them can be conflicting criteria as well. So for example, depending on how the user want the models to behave, they might like responses which do not align well with their own model specs or their own safety mechanisms. Now, how they decide whether to deploy a model or not. So they have a number of different evaluation mechanisms. Some of them are offline evals. So it seems like these are a number of different benchmark data sets specifically focused on mathematics, coding, chat performance, personality, and general usefulness. Then they have expert testing, which they call vibe checks. So seems to be a human in the loop as well, where after training the model, there are a number of experts who actually sit down, test these models thoroughly, and the way they test it is, does it respond in a way that feels helpful, respectful, and aligned with the values they have articulated in their model specs. And then their safety evals. Now they call them blocking evals, which are mostly focused on direct harm performed by malicious users. So it seems like if a model doesn't pass the safety evals, they just don't release it. And some of the things which are very critical and they look for are topics related to suicide or health. Now there are some non-blocking evals like evaluation of hallucination and deception, but as we are going to see later, they are working to consider them to have a higher weight as well. But interestingly enough, for a model update like the GPT-4o update versus a new frontier model release like o3, they have a different set of evals or a different set of criteria. Based on that, they decide whether to release a model or not. Okay, so apart from all of those eval set, they also do small scale A/B tests with actual users. So they say we run an A/B test with a small number of users. This let us look at how the model perform in hands of the users based on aggregate metrics such as thumbs up, thumbs down, feedback, preferences, and side-by-side comparisons and usage patterns. So you probably have seen that sometimes you're going to get two set of responses and ChatGPT asks you which one you prefer. Now, this is a normal feedback loop that I have seen being used a lot. Thumbs up, thumbs down is a good indicator of whether the user likes the response or not. However, if you blindly decide to use this feedback as a reward signal in your next phase of pre-training, it can have some real unintended consequences. And it seems like OpenAI, with their robust evaluation framework, ran into exactly the same issues. And I think there are some really good lessons here for anybody who is building on top of these AI systems. So they say we had candidate improvements to better incorporate user feedback, memory, and fresher data, among others. Now, early assessment is that each of these changes, which had looked beneficial individually, may have played a part in tipping the scales on the sycophancy when combined. So this is very critical. So they tested everything individually. So for example, incorporating user feedback, adding memory, adding fresher data, and everything seems to be working based on their evaluation mechanism that they have built. But when combined together, it seems to have a very adverse effect that they did not realize in the beginning. Now, if you're basically going to be updating multiple things simultaneously, it's very important to test those combinedly together and see if there are any of these unintended consequences. So they say, for example, the updated introduced an additional reward signal based on user feedback, thumbs up or thumbs down data from ChatGPT. This signal is often useful. A thumbs down usually means something went wrong. But they believe in aggregate, these changes weakened the influence of our primary reward signal, which had been holding sycophancy in check. So it seems like with all of these combined updates, it actually steered the model away from following the model spec that OpenAI has provided. So interestingly enough, user feedbacks in particular can sometimes favor more agreeable responses, likely amplifying the shift we saw. So this is very important, right? So don't just blindly look at the user feedback and try to incorporate that data. I think it's very important to understand what type of behavior changes a user feedback based reward signal can introduce in these systems. Now, they also highlighted this interesting point that in some cases, user memory contributes to exacerbating the effect of sycophancy, although we don't have evidence that it broadly increases it. Now, this part is very interesting because I thought for user memory, they probably have implemented some sort of a RAG system, but it seems like it's a lot more complex than that. And user memory itself seems to be contributing to the reward signal. Now, the question is, if you have all these different evals in place, how they were not able to capture this behavior beforehand? Well, it comes down to the nature of evals that you are running and the importance of having dynamic evals. One of the key problems with this launch was that our offline eval, especially those testing behavior, generally looked good. Similarly, A/B test seems to indicate that the small number of users who tried the model also liked it. Now, they were not specifically testing for sycophancy in the beginning, but there were some expert testers who were concerned about the changes in model tone style. And generally, they felt it was a little off. There seems to be some qualitative assessment that a number of expert testers are saying it felt off. They say we didn't have any specific deployment evaluations tracking sycophancy, so they were not specifically tracking sycophancy. This also really shows you when you are building these LLM or AI system in general, you cannot have static evals. In the beginning, you can start with a small number of tests, but as you see more behavior changes in these models or systems, you need to keep updating your evals. And that's exactly what OpenAI intends to do. So they say we then had a decision to make. Should we withhold deploying this update despite positive evaluations? In the end, we decided to launch the model due to positive signals from the users who tried out the model. But in hindsight, that was the wrong call. We build these systems for our users, and while user feedback is critical in our decisions, it's ultimately our responsibility to interpret the feedback correctly. Looking back, the qualitative assessments were hinting at something important, and we should have paid closer attention. So very transparent from OpenAI, and I really appreciate them actually releasing this blog post. And it also shows that evals are extremely hard. And unfortunately, it's one of the most important area that gets ignored a lot. Now, what exactly they're doing in order to address that? So something interesting that pops out is they initially updated the system prompt in order to mitigate the negative impact that they were seeing. Okay, so what exactly they plan to do ahead? Explicitly approve model behavior for each launch, weighing both quantitative and qualitative signals, right? And they are also considering hallucination, deception, on personality as blocking concerns now. So they're basically updating their criteria for how they're going to be releasing these models. Now, also they're introducing more additional opt-in alpha testing phases. So basically, they're going to involve a lot more users who are going to be able to test these models, and then more value spot checks and interactive testing. They want to make sure that the model is well aligned with their own model spec. Communication seems to be another thing that they want to focus on. And also, they say going forward, we will proactively communicate about updates we are making to the models in GPT, whether subtle or not. They say we need to be critical of metrics that conflicts with qualitative testing. And this is a very important point to keep in mind, especially if you're, again, building with these AI systems. So not only you need to have quantitative metrics, you also need to have qualitative metrics. And evals are not going to catch everything. So these need to be dynamic evals that are going to evolve as you're building and as you're monitoring user behavior. And then at the end, they say there's no such thing as small launch. So even though this was just a minor update to GPT-4o, seems like it completely changed the behavior of the model. So I'm personally really happy that OpenAI is open enough to share these findings. It's going to be extremely helpful for other model builders and even anybody who is building on top of these systems. And most importantly, we do not understand how these systems work. There is a lot of work to be done, both on the research as well as on the engineering side. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. And as always, see you in the next one.